Hey all, Pi here, and we are back in our life beginnings and always. It has been a hot minute since the last time I recorded this game because there was kind of a minor incident. Texas became an ice cube for the first time in about a century, so that was fun. Anyway, let's just get back into this. August ended, September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school he was alright, but kept his distance from other kids. From what you saw, anywhere. Whenever he could... Thank you. Whenever he could, Cove stuck to you like glue. He didn't even mind that much what you did to pass the time, as long as it was together. Sometimes it was like things were exactly the same as when you first met. But other times, as you got older, you couldn't ignore how the feelings had changed in meaningful ways. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. Oh, that's incredibly rare, actually. So, little known, I don't know if you guys know this actually, but almost always in custody battles, the mother will get full custody and the father might get visitation rights. Like, generally speaking, the only time the mother doesn't get custody of the kids is if she is a drug addict or some other criminal activity that disqualifies her as a parent. Like, that's just how these things work out in our court system, at least in America. I have absolutely no idea if the same is true in other countries. Anyway. At first she worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He had said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. Thanks. He seemed very confident that it was an effective strategy. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. Standard response. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. You couldn't understand what had changed. But you hoped that you could help him feel better still, since even without the tears, he looked sad. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. It's gonna take him a while to find the words, I think. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed, and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. Ooh boy, that officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes, too. Cove's cast got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Well, I hope it didn't take all those years for his cast to get taken off. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew for him for more than... I feel like that's a typo. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did on tests and in other academic situations. Over the years, he began opening up more, too. You saw him talking amicably with other kids or neighbors from time to time. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. What? He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. No. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. I wanted to see if that kid was actually going to grow up to be a serial killer. I'm sorry, guys. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. True. That was sad in its own way. Also true. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her Mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You're much too old for the word. Yeah, all kids eventually hit that phase where they're just like, I'm too cool for my childhood pet names. Lizzie felt too mature for her... like that. Too mature for her nickname, too. She insisted on everyone calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Yeah, that's how it goes. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You know, it's a weird thing. As you get older, age matters less, but also there are like cutoff ages. And if you're outside of a certain age bracket, you're not really in the same group anymore. And I don't know how to explain it better than that. It's like 2 years is 2 years is 2 years. But right now, they're separated by, like, levels of education. So, I am in middle school, and my sister is 2 years older than me in high school. So, like, my sister is on her way to adulthood, and I'm still, like, working through things. Like, in that awkward phase between being a kid and being a teen. I feel like I had some sort of point with that, but I've lost it now. I'm sorry. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. You didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work, if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed, in small and big ways. You had too. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then, before you knew it, school was over and summer vacation had come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was as hot as ever, but you were inside and away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were... wide awake, about to head out to enjoy your time off. Morning person. You made sure to slather on a generous amount of sunscreen so you didn't get burned. You were looking in the mirror, studying the clothes you'd thrown on, when your bedroom door opened without warning. In the reflection, you saw Elizabeth raise an eyebrow. She looks very different now. Have you been staring at yourself this whole morning? Good morning, Elizabeth. She ignored that, crossing her arms over her chest with a disgruntled expression. Clearly she hadn't come in just to see you. Aw. Your special boy's at the door. like he always is now. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him. Say thanks or whatever. Aw, she's really leaning into that teenage angst, didn't she? You did not like the way she called him your special boy, but you knew by now that saying so wouldn't stop her.
Come on.
So come down already. Be right there. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. Now alone, you focused on the mirror once again. So IRL, I am a very tall person, so I'm just gonna say that Joy is also very tall. You could relate to Cove and how it felt being unusually big. He was one of the rare fellow 13-year-olds whose height was a match for your own. I'll say you weren't sure how to feel about it. Things kept changing. With the height you actually had and what the impression of that height was based on your age, it was confusing. Then you put the finishing touches on your... I don't understand that last line. Like, what? I don't know. Then you put your finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating on the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to today, so this worked out in your favor. It was when you spotted your reflection that you realized you were smiling wide. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, going down the stairs 2 steps at a time. Step 2. Second chance. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She held a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. I don't know why I struggled so hard on that word. Morning, Mom. She looked up at you. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face.
Thanks.
Good morning, Joy. Thank you for coming down. Ma's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go and thank him before he leaves? Aw, no fun times with Cove? Boo! You nodded and made your way to the front of the house. Just as she said, Ma was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder.
Oh?
Look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat you on the forehead. Or on the head. She was taller than average for an adult woman, so you were still little in her eyes despite being big for your own age. Yep. You happily let her do it. I love head pats. Please pat me on the head more. That type of small, affectionate exchange was nice. She placed the whole of her hand on the top of your head for a second before lifting it back up. Ah, you're the last one down today, you know that? Life isn't a race.
Funny.
I don't think that excuse will work if you're late for anyone other than your own mother, though. With a small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered, exactly how you came to know him to be. Ah, he's all cute and blushy. I'm exposing myself. He leaned uncomfortably to the side in your doorway as the longer strands of his hair idly drifted with the breeze. His features were pinched with an His features were pinched in embarrassment, and he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must be the much-talked-about gift. Is that a little fruit bouquet? At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers. Then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress a laugh at this showing. You couldn't imagine many folks buying that sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for the presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. Yes, But they're cool, though. Like, I want one of these. Take notes, wife. Take notes! It seemed no matter how long he lived here, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove would always be roped into participating. Poor Cove. He's the middleman who didn't want to be here. At the sight of you, Cove smiled, but there was some nervousness to it. Hey. Ah! I'm sorry. You smiled back. You couldn't help thinking to when you first met Cove and how you became such good friends. Lately, though, you were starting to have different feelings for him. Hey, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too. His grip on the base of the gift tightened, and your heartbeat sped up. Even if neither of you had spoken about it, both of you were aware of something new was growing in your relationship. It was already shaping up to be another long summer. The best part was that the two of you had plenty of time to spend together and explore what was developing. His awkwardness over the task started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the glyph closer to you. He was ready to be relieved of it. Your hands brushed over his just slightly when you took hold of the base. He flinched enough for you to know with certainty that he noticed it happen. There's nothing quite so awkward as accidentally touching hands. Even if it's not somebody that you like, you're just like unplanned human contact. Maybe I'm weird. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. You couldn't help but smirk to yourself. And with that, the gift was accepted. I hope you and your family like this. It's a pretty good gift. I think so, anyway. Oh, that confidence, boy. He smiled earnestly. Dad spent a lot of time picking out the best size and design. There were so many options to choose from. Yes. This is my internal monologue, but that's not going to come out of my mouth. Thank you. To your dad for buying it, and to you for bringing it over. It looks yummy. I'll tell him you said that. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had, though after 5 years you were used to his antics, and you'd since made up your mind on what your opinion was. This last option, though. He was sort of funny. Sometimes that could be a good thing, and other times it was a bad thing. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are! You shared a confused look with Cove, as both of you stepped through the open door and onto the neighborhood street. It didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you. Like, I'm happy to see you, but what are you doing here? Where's the middle ground? Yeah, we'll just go with happy. Derek was certainly a welcome guest in your neighborhood. It was a pleasant surprise whenever he showed up. After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. And I just gotta say, he is also adorable. I've said it. I'm sorry. Children are cute. I'm sorry. Then he looked up with a wide grin.
Hey.
Hey, guy and pal. Hey, guy and pal. Okay, I'm fine with this. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there. Should have figured you'd be at Joy's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always just there? Hey. Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. We all have that one asshole friend. And we love them. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more when his eyes widened and he gasped. What's that? You followed his gaze, unsure. Then you realized what he meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This? It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers, but made out of fruit.
Nice.
Nice. Oh. Can I have some? No, they're mine. Sure, we can share. Derek grew more excited by your words, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Awesome. Then he nodded his head as if to clear it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. What? New child? Cove was surprised as you were by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh. The new kid was all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him?
Nope.
I came to report the sighting right away. Talking about this child like it's an animal. The kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. You blinked. Slowly you looked over to your longtime neighbor. That sounds a lot like you, Cove. When you first got here, anyway. It kinda does, doesn't it? That's weird. He sounded almost fond, a small smile playing on his lips. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well, now that you say so. But what did you say? Let's go find Cove's look-alike. We should all meet him.
Sure.
I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. Derek grinned, then he pointed down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you are off, with Derek leading the way. What about the fruit, though? Derek brought you to the beach, and as a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. He scuffled around, kicking up the sand as he paced. It was true, he certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad like you had originally pictured. No, his erratic movements and scrunched-up expression, he came off angry. You were curious about him and what he was so mad about. Derek must have felt the same as you. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy. Hey guy, over here! Oh, that's a face. Alright, man. The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carving deeper onto his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong hostile energy radiated off him. Yeah, that child looked like he about to kill somebody.
What?
What? What is it? What do you want? Damn, man. The sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it? Damn, Jeremy,
No.
Calm down. No, I'm Derek. That's Joy and Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah, so, it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. If steam could erupt from a person's ears, it would have happened then. They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. Okay, kid. What?
My parents.
They're the ones who brought me. I don't want this town. I didn't walk to this town. Can you not figure that out on your own?
Right.
My dad brings me to Sunset Bird too, when he has to come for work and all that stuff. It's not bad. That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced beneath it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation, probably either. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time, a chore. Damn, kid. Calm down. My parents' family is nearby, and we just had to come see them. Ugh. This child, man. He needs a whooping. Sorry, just gonna say it. If they're your parents' family, doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
Calm down, child. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No! Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves, since they cared so much and left me home. But I'm not allowed to be myself. I feel like this kid's gonna commit a crime. And it makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid? What? This is my thought, but I don't think that's going to come out of my mouth. You shouldn't talk about your parents like that. That was odd. What do you know about my parents? Have you met them? No. Some parents are criminals, but I guess us brainless children have to be nice. Being rude to a parent is the worst thing in the world. That's not what I meant.
So dumb.
Close enough. You be their kid. I'll take your mom and dad. Only someone with really easy parents would be dumb enough to say something so stupid. Damn, kid. Hey.
Hey!
Joy is not dumb. I kinda wanna go on the attack because this kid pisses me off. I'm smarter than you are. How are you gonna prove that when you're just saying one moronic thing after another? You turn to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't similar after all. Jeremy must have had good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed.
Stupid.
Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't that stupid. Damn, child. Cove's cheeks flushed crimson at the insult. You couldn't be sure if it was out of embarrassment or anger. Maybe both. Come on. Apologize to Cove right now. You can't treat people like that. Cove smiled weakly.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry your eyebrows are so terrible. Damn, kid! Can I punch him? Like, I'm not a violent person, but I kind of want to punch this kid. You lunged towards Jeremy. With your fist balls, you made a quick step forward. But you only wanted to spook him. He'd made it clear that words wouldn't work, leaving you to resort to action, even if it was just for show. Derek and Cove jumped in to stop you before you reached him. They each grabbed you by the arm. Still, Jeremy instinctively stumbled backwards. He practically fell over. If that's all you can do about what I'm saying is just proving I'm right, you're brainless. Jeremy continued to defensively fume and throw out insults. The reaction you got was definitely worth any consequences. Wow, what's wrong with you? Instead of taking offense, Jeremy only parroted Derek's words in a nasally voice.
Wow, what is wrong with you?
Wow. This is dumb. Just drown him in the ocean. Nobody has to know. His parents won't miss him. Jeremy stuck out his tongue and skulked away, throwing more sand everywhere as he went. You watched him go, hunched over until he became a speck in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what had just happened. I can't believe it. What a mean kid. Yeah, that kid's an asshole. Derek wasn't kidding, and by the sound of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed in dismay, plopping onto the ground. You followed, and Cove did too shortly after. There wasn't much else to do.
This sucks.
I was hoping we could meet someone fun, hang out maybe. All children are not made equal. He shook his head. After a moment, he slowly turned to you with a hopeful expression. But, you know what would really improve the day? What? He didn't respond. Instead, he used a hand to point, right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. Oh yeah! I forgot about that. You completely forgotten about it during the mini-drama that unfolded. You'd gotten used to the wait. Glancing over to Cove, you noticed he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Why not? Let's eat. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached out for a skewer, hesitating slightly once he was inches away.
Are you sure?
You nodded. With an eager grin, he plunked out a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after. Only you were without a skewer of your own. Melon! Sorry. The melon was cut to look like a star. It was the obvious first choice. Derek ate pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing. It's not different than any other normal fruit. It's kinda worse. These have been out in the open with their skins off for a while. Sheesh. Don't be such a killjoy, Cove. Hey, you two remember the land before time? That fruit thing makes me think of it. The dinosaurs all like the leaves that were shaped like stars. Tree stars. Yeah, chomping leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was that scene with the pretty trees. All of the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off them till there was nothing. That's us right now. Awesome. Eating leaves looks good. Should I worry about you? He snickered. No, I'm not gonna do it for real, but I did pretend I was a long neck when I ate broccoli one time. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. It did help make you feel better. Good food always makes things better. Derek was right. It was so good you were already brightening up from the earlier drama. Hey, Joy. Yeah? The two of you met eyes casually. Were you seriously gonna hit that guy? No! I just knew he'd get all scared over it.
Ew.
That was pretty bad, Joy. I thought it was cool. Aww. What? You're both crazy people. I like this kid. You knew when Derek said things like that it wasn't serious. He liked you in Cove. Yeah. Derek then leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you both ready for summer break? Yeah. Cool on you. Wish I could say the same. Feels like there's a lot to plan for. And what about you, Cove? Are you ready? Yes. Before you could say anything else, the light atmosphere was shattered. Oh no, not... Oh, okay. Hey, Joy! You glanced over your shoulder to see your sister. She strode closer and closer, appearing none too pleased. I've been looking all over for you. Ma said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden bought for us. Uh-oh. She leered over you with arms folded. Oops! So, where is it? You're late. It's all gone. Oh, no. No! She's gonna kill me! What do you mean, gone? Oh, no! You moved over to the side to face her completely. She zeroed in on the bouquet in your hands, which was now populated exclusively with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flecks of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped, and the tone of her voice rose.
What?
Seriously, Joy? What were you thinking? It was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced at Cove, who sat beside you, and continued mockingly. Even if you're the most important person in the household to the delivery boy, this was up to his dad. It seemed everybody was in a mood to tease you and Cove today. Within moments, Cove's cheeks flushed red. He picked at the hem of his shirt, suddenly finding it very interesting. He always became nervous when Elizabeth would strike at your relationship. Sorry, Elizabeth. Elizabeth narrowed her eyes, not at all placated. Oh no. I think I hear the mean kid coming back. We better get out of here. Elizabeth blinked, confused, and looked around.
What?
What kid? I don't see anyone. Derek didn't bother explaining. He just launched to his feet and ran off. Derek, no! Come back! You traitor! Cove hopped up too quickly, taking the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed after Derek, but sent a look to you from over his shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised. Fucking run! Without a word, you got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes.
So immature.
She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning in triumph. We escaped and shall live to see another day! Yeah, for now at least. I still have to face Elizabeth when I go back home. You chuckled together, walking further down the beach side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little while longer. Later that night, you found yourself seated near the kitchen counter. You had gotten a bit of a scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. The three of them went to get dessert on their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back and the event was settled. That was a while ago now. Wait. Your fingers drummed on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You're waiting on a call tonight, specifically from your cousin Leandra. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your uncle, aunt, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year for big occasions. A while back, though, they'd moved and were closer to you than ever before. You now hung out regularly. With school being out, you're positive she's gonna want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Elizabeth, too, but now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to just be you and Lee who spent time together. Ah, she's going through that phase. She was the only friend who was a girl. You weren't a girl yourself, so maybe that was why. But you didn't really have a lot of other friends either. Mom always said that quality was more important than quantity when Elizabeth bemoaned your small social circle. You weren't sure how friendship quality was judged, but nevertheless, you thought that what you had with Lee was good. Then the shrill ringtone announced an incoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Lee, finally!
Hi!
Sorry about the wait, Joy. It took forever to get the phone away from my mom. That's okay. There was a static on the end, as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. So, can you believe school's actually over? I thought it'd never be done. Now we don't have to do any of the boring stuff, and we get to hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out... Lee, can you wait a second? Let me just head to my room.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. Oh. She has a cute voice. I like her voice. You got up from your seat at the counter. Luckily, the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Ain't got no chains. Your mom's had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which was why you'd been sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. You thought that made sense. It was nice to keep everything in its proper place. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You jogged up the stairs, taking two at a time, smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you. You took a seat on your bed. Alright, I'm here.
Cool.
Hey, did you know that... Hey, did you know the girl down the street from me has her own phone now? A cell phone. She doesn't have to wait for somebody else to stop using it or anything. Oh. Oh no. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone was all that... The thought of someone having a phone that was all their own seemed unbelievable to you. Right? I wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. Yeah, I didn't get my first phone until I was in high school, actually. And the only reason I got it then was because I was in cross country and my parents needed to keep track of me while I was at meets and stuff. I wish they'd changed their mind. We could call each other every single day and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? Really great. We could even stay up late talking about whatever we want. Lee sighed thoughtfully into the receiver. At least they said I could have it someday. I can't wait. She sighed dramatically. I like this kid. I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfy. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to a college. School was such a big part of your life right now. Everything in your classes came easily to you. Yes, I was that annoying brat. You soaked up information as naturally as a sponge absorbed water. You had yet to worry about school being hard for you. You were confident your grades would remain great. You could definitely keep the streak going. Yeah. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled.
What's up?
You sound so spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. I like this kid. Come on, it's not too scary not to think about it. No matter how much you wanted to enjoy your free time, the creeping dread of knowing that it would come to an end was always there beside you. Oh, I think I read that wrong. Oh well, I'm committed. I get what you mean. Though, I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. Learning new things can be cool. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught the things, not just some people.
Me too.
It's the easiest way to hang out with people not in the neighborhood. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anybody new. No one really comes here. Uh-huh. But that was all. Now that's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken.
All right.
Now I decree the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about the summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've got some plans ready. Like? I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. I want to spend time with people. People, I hope that means me too. You leaned back in your bed, settling in as you continued chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been that long since you saw her, and you'd be seeing her soon, you found plenty to talk about. For one, the events of the day. You sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Like, at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a little while. I don't know how long. What was he like? Mean. He kept snapping when all we were trying to do was talk to him. He just kept being rude to everyone. But especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. Trust me, if I could undo it, I would. Oh, I have lost my fox. No. For those who don't know, I have a fox armrest to keep me from straining my wrist trying to operate the mouse. More information about my setup than you guys probably wanted to know. You want a boy to stay... Oh. You want a boy to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Hey, who are you to talk? You give practically all your attention to boys. Or maybe just one boy. I see how much you like Cove. That's a special case. Lee laughed at your defensiveness, deeply amused. After a moment, you chuckled along with her. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated older sister. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face.
Come on.
How long are you gonna hog the phone? Glancing at your watch, you realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand, the other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Gotta go. I'll see you soon, okay?
Hi.
Okay, see you. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You'd barely pressed the end call button when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out of the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut your door behind you. Silence was left in the wake. What's wrong with Elizabeth? Why she's gotta have that stick up her butt? That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you laid in bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched, staring over at it with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you saw only the moon and an open sky. You were curious. What had caused that noise? Cocking your head, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You wanted to get to the bottom of this. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by a pair of familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove, you did not. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so theoretically it wouldn't be hard to climb around it. Still, just because somebody could didn't mean you expected it to ever happen. Cove looked awkward and unstable. His feet were braced against the section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with the effort to keep him upright. With difficulty, he waved, then wobbled, immediately dropping his hand in alarm. You hurriedly opened the window. Cove scrambled inside, nearly falling flat on his face, but he was able to right himself in the end. He released a breath once he was steady.
Hey.
Hi, Joy. Excuse me, boy, what the fuck? That last answer, though. Is everything okay? What happened? It's not okay. I needed to talk to you, and I couldn't wait until tomorrow. If I rang the doorbell, I know your moms would have answered, and they'd just make me go home. I didn't really want to explain why I was coming over anyway. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean. That's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched. Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very cross. Dad, he was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Cove had eavesdropped on his parents' phone conversation? You didn't comment on his eavesdropping. There were other things to talk about. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened, varied. Sometimes he would go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news, when you found out he was leaving and you missed seeing him for those weeks, you understood. To your surprise, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they were saying. My dad asked my mom not to have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. You waited for him to continue. He didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. You couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. Is she gonna do that? Yeah. She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her. Still, it was one thing to hear about someone and another to actually meet them. Very soon you were going to see Cove's mom in person. You were taken aback by the news, so you could only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him. He was pacing across your room, his features pained with dread. Before they'd barely stay in the same room long enough to have lunch, now we're gonna be all together again, the three of us, after all this time, just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now. I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out. And now I feel really bad for feeling this way.
Joy!
It's so... His fist tightened and his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already and I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, you knew he was waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. That is hard to deal with. The tense line of Cove's shoulders eased. Thanks. That makes me feel a little better. Like I'm not freaking out for no reason. A momentary silence fell over the two of you. You marveled at how the day started. You had woken up eager for summer vacation, but now things seemed so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift, the newest addition to the neighborhood being so rude. And as if all that wasn't enough, now Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that, it seemed. Complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Joy? The sound of your name, said quietly, pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned.
Are you okay?
Who, me? I'm more worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. Moonlight from outside cast shadows across his face and lit up his eyes. They seemed to sparkle with a smile. Just that one look brightened your mood somewhat. You know, I think I don't want to talk any more about this. He looked away, his lips thinning to a line, and rubbed at his arms. But I kinda don't want to go back home either. Could I stay a little longer, just doing something else? He appeared equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? Of course, you can always stay here, Cove. As if he even had to ask. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. That took no time at all. You felt a little better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was here. And not just tonight. You were glad he came into your life in the first place. That was a change you'd never want to undo. It felt totally natural to let him into your little world. That initial friendship had deepened so much over these past years, and you were certain there was room to get even closer. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. He was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. You hugged him. You moved closer and wrapped your arms around him. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact helped even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up and he returned your hug. Hugging. More hugging in the world. Hugging solves all the world's problems. End war and famine with more hugging. Sorry. The two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was too quiet to tell what it was. When you pulled back, his expression had softened into something more natural. Conversation was stilted and broken, often by silence at first. Both of you were able to get into your usual candor. As your secret hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped a day would never come when life decided that the two of you would have to part ways, and you knew Cove felt the same. You opened your tired eyes, groaning as they adjusted to the bright light that was streaming through your window and warming your tan skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight and blinked a couple of times, clearing the sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start it was actually morning. You couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent time together trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't put a finger on exactly when. You wondered how late Cove had stayed before heading home. You rubbed your face and yawned again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day or stay snuggled up for a little while longer. Until your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. No! Yeet him out the window! He never left! He was still there in the morning! Fuck! Oh no! Oh no! Cove! He had fallen asleep while sitting on the ground and precariously leaning on his head on the side of your mattress. No! God damn it. If you're gonna have secret boys in your room, you need to get them out before the sun comes up. Come on. This is basic stuff. With your shout, Cove's eyes snapped open as his head slipped from its source of support. He didn't stop going down until he smacked right into the floor with a crack. Ow! You clamped your hand over your mouth and looked down at him with wide eyes, curled up where he had landed rather ungracefully. Oh, poor baby! I'm sorry! Are you okay? You winced at his tumble, hoping no one else in the house had heard either of your outbursts. Yeah, I'm alright. Cove rubbed at his forehead a little, and you weren't sure that was entirely true. If either of your moms found out Cove had slept here last night, the two of you would be in big trouble. Yes, you would! Kiss your butts goodbye! Cove blinked at you a couple of times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that only he could hear settled in his mind.
Oh my god!
I fell asleep! You weren't exactly sure what to do as you watched Cove pace your room, looking around frantically. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting out a sigh of relief when he found his glasses right where they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. Settle down before my moms hear you. Cove nodded, his shoulders tensed as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. He couldn't look at you again as he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all of this had played out, but hoped that was true. Yeah, see you later, Cove. At that, you were suddenly wrapped up in an intense embrace. As panicked as he was, it seemed to be something you couldn't forget before leaving. Hugging! Yes! Thanks, again. You're a good friend, Joy. a really good friend. Friend, am I? He firmly whispered the words into the top of your shoulder and made you feel tingly. But you were let go before you had a chance to respond or even fully react. In a matter of seconds, he had climbed over your bed and opened the window. A cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with its salty scent. Cove anxiously stepped out onto the ledge. Be careful. You wished him luck. Good luck. Don't fall off my roof. You weren't sure if he had heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other, with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out the window as far as you could go to try keeping watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down to the top of the garage, then lowering himself onto the fence. From there, he finally dropped down to the ground. You threw out a thumbs up at his successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit that you were pretty impressed by how doable he made that look. Goddamn monkey boy. Cove always seemed to have a way of seeming to so smooth without even meaning to. With a little sigh, you reclosed your window. Deciding there was nothing more you could do, you hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. You just left. It was too early to do anything else. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come into your room if they had heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful. You had to play it cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Oh no. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked you over immediately, her eyes squinting at the greeting.
Why?
Why are you being so weird? God. You failed, Joy! You hadn't even done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. Your eyes flicked left and right as you sidestepped her and headed towards the kitchen. Joy. You shrugged it off. I'm not. You spoke so nonchalantly, you almost thought she believed you. But you knew better. Further suspicious squinting occurred as she waited for something. But ultimately, she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. Whatever. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. Yeah, that would have been bad. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from the breakfast they made. Hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. I don't think that would be very good cold. The fruit salad's fine, but like everything else, eh. You took a little bit of everything. It was tasty. You appreciated that there was variety in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It was perfect. Balmy summer... My voice is dying, guys. It was a perfect balming summer afternoon, and you decided to head outdoors and find something to do. You hadn't decided what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you were heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he had left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over his house right now, or to call him to check in? You stepped out of your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself, when a voice caught your attention.
Hi.
Hi, Joy. Confused, you looked over to where the unrecognizable woman was waving at you, a friendly smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory for where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school, or the country club your moms took you to? You had absolutely no idea who that woman was. The woman crossed the road towards you, and you were a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back into the house and lock the door. Bolt. Run! Oh no. I think I know who this is. Oops, I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head, and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, and my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand to point at the condo across the street from your house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't realized sooner, now that you'd gotten a good look at her. She looked really young, honestly though. Like, she looks like not much older than her child, honestly. It was almost hard to believe she had a 13-year-old kid. No matter your thoughts on her, you still felt taken aback that she had appeared here so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't gotten the impression it would be the very next day. She extended a hand again, this time for you to take, and you studied the manicured fingernails in front of your face, and the assortment of bracelets that dangled from her wrist. I'm Kyra Priest. You can call me Kyra. You shook her hand. Let's be polite. This is mom-in-law. You reached out and took her hand, and she shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm Joy, but you already know that.
That I do.
Cove's mentioned you to me before. It's nice to eventually meet you, Joy. Cove talked to you about his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. Nice to meet you too. Let's be polite. She smiled at you fondly, eyes crinkling at the corners. The sound of a door opening and closing caught both of your attentions, and when you turned towards the sound, it was to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering just how tall he had grown, you kind of figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the short side for an adult anyway. Cove's height must have come from his father.
My baby.
There you are. I thought you were going to keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eye as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly fixed on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he had acted last night, you knew he must be feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the Snore is at work. The Snore? Dude. Kyra beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. You assumed the Snore she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us, Joy. I'd love to get to know you better. Yeah, you should come. Cove's like, save me! There was a pleading tone. There was a pleading in his tone that you couldn't miss. Save me! Of course we'll run it by your parents first. Responsibility and all that. It'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on this street for the time being. Any woozies, let's go. Uh-huh. Kira walked ahead towards your house, and you hung back with Cove, who crinkled his nose as he watched her.
Sorry.
I'm sorry about her, but I really do want you to come. I don't want to be just the two of us. Not right now. Don't leave me alone with that woman! You leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed heavily. Dad was so focused on Mom showing up that he didn't even notice. Damn! I genuinely cannot imagine being so focused on something that You miss your kid disappearing. I thought when I heard them on the phone last night that it was something they were planning for the future. This morning Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's gonna be here all summer. Yay! Oh. You were surprised to hear that too. Cove sighed again, even heavier. I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing a little in relief. Thanks. That'd be cool. The two of you headed over to where Cove's mom had just knocked on your front door and stood behind her. Wait. I thought my moms were out. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she had found in front of her. You realized that, like you, she would have no idea that it was Cove's mom who was hanging with you. However, after blinking at the woman a couple of times and looking between her and Cove, the realization seemed to strike on her. Hello there, I'm Pamela. Names are hard. And I'm like way over my time. How much longer do I have on this? I wish I knew.
I see.
I see you've met my kid Joy, and I'm guessing you've already known Cove for a while. Kira laughed, and you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kyra Priest, Cove's mom. It's so nice to meet you. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eye as Ma popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself beside her. We have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was. She grinned excitedly at Kyra. The two of them introduced themselves and shook hands.
Hello.
Hi, Joy, Cove. Cove smiled at Ma shyly as she gestured a hand towards the living room. There's no use hanging around in the doorway. Why don't you come in? I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you up with a surprise visit. Ah, I understand. You're welcome to stop by anytime.
Of course.
I'll take you up on the offer when I can. Count on it. Would you mind too much if Joy went with Cove and I? My treat. We won't be driving, just a quick walk down the road. Sure, that sounds nice.
Have fun.
I hope you all have fun. You gave your moms a look, and they smiled at you fondly. You were happy they were letting you go. You could tell that Cove really needed support, and you were ready to be there for him.
Marvelous.
Expect us back in an hour or two. We look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Okay, I have absolutely no idea how much longer there is on this part, but I need a break. My voice is dying, I am out of water, I have other responsibilities. I need to sleep eventually. So I'm just gonna cut it there. Hopefully I don't start the next episode and it takes me 5 minutes to get to the end of the segment, because that would just break my heart. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. I am sorry that this one came out so long, and I hope to see you in 2 more weeks.